We got a 2-in-1 episode today. A lot of times you guys ask for a revisit of a project that we've already done. We're back to visit Rich today. We plowed and then we planted your corn, well, several months ago. Today, we're gonna try to pick it with this corn picker. And look what we got attached. Little Johnny. You think it'll work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get started.
Christy's shaking her head.
Yeah, I'm skeptical.
Tell me a little bit about this picker.
I actually don't know that much about it. It's a new idea, 2-row.
I see that you've got it all lubed up. I mean, you've got every fitting that you've seen, you've got greased. I see oil on the chains. And from what I see, it looks to be in great shape. I don't see any excessive rust. I don't see any wear where it's just worn through, where we're gonna lose corn that way. I don't know much about picking corn. I'm a little bit too young. My brother, who's just a little bit older than me, was around when my family was still picking corn. This machine's going to pull the stalk down with those rollers. It's gonna pull the cob and ear off of the stalk, try to get that kind of separation done up here. So it doesn't want to take the stalk through. It wants to take just the ear. Then that'll go up that elevator there. There's a husking bed, I think it's called, where it tries to pull off most of the husks, because you really don't want to take the husks to the house, right? You want just the ears as bare as possible if we can possibly have that. And then there's a big elevator on the top here that's going to dump it in the wagon. And then I'm going to go home before we have to shovel it out of the wagon. We may have to take only 1 row at a time. I planted this with a 1-row planter.
Right.
And I tried to do a good job of getting nice straight rows a reasonable distance apart, but I doubt we're going to be able to take 2 rows at a time. That may just be asking too much. We may try it. If you see us taking 1 row, that's why. It's just because I might have had some crooked rows. Also, I think right here at the ends, I may have not left enough of an end row area for us to be able to get this big thing turned. So we may have to take a little bit off the end, just kind of go crossways.
Yeah, shave the ends off a little bit.
Yeah, and then give us a little bit more room to make a turn without getting too crazy with it. This thing lifts up here manually. And then the elevator, there's a rope there to turn the elevator on and off. You don't want the elevator running when you're turning. Otherwise, it'll just dump it out on the ground because the wagon won't be directly behind you.
Yeah.
There's enough of a hopper there at the base of the elevator to handle what corn comes in while you're turning and you're in that situation. So that's what we're going to try.
And I do see in the background several bigger tractors.
Good point. We have two guys on the bench ready to take over if little Johnny is not up to the task. We got a 3025E. If it's only physical size, it's a problem. 3025E is going to have the same horsepower, be a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger. And then we've got a 5075E on back there who we know can do the job. We'll see how this goes. I have confidence in Johnny, never mind that Christy doesn't.
Right.
After all she's seen Johnny do.
Her head like that.
I know.
After all she's seen Johnny do, and she's ready to bail on it every turn. Every turn.
No, there's some things I know we can do, but this I'm a little skeptical.
I can't wait to prove her wrong.
What do you think so far? Did we get anything in the wagon?
Yeah, we got some in the wagon. Christy thought she saw a red one. So
that's interesting.
If you remember, we got that seed from a friend of mine over in Ohio.
Right, open pollinated corn.
Yeah, I had picked a few ears to see if they would float, and he had asked me if I'd seen any red ears yet. And he said that this variety will occasionally produce a red ear.
That's a nice ear too. There we go.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. We got foxtail wrapped around this roll pretty bad.
Yeah. There is an adjustment for these.
Yeah.
Where you can squeeze them real tight or widen them a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know what size ears we'd be dealing with, so I put them as close together as I could. If you think that's having any effect.
I think we want them close.
Okay. I was gonna say I could spread them apart a little bit if we thought that might
No,
make a
I think we
difference.
want them as
You want me to
close as
try
we
to
can get them.
cut
I'm gonna raise it up a little higher, see if I can get it out of that foxtail.
My suggestion that we keep those rolls close to each other turned out to be a serious mistake and caused a lot of problems, as you're going to see going forward in this video. We eventually resolve it, so keep watching.
Overall, we're having a pretty good experience. The foxtail is causing us some issues, and in this case, since I was taking only one row, we got trash from the prior row that kind of got us all choked up here. Foxtail's getting around those rolls that pull the stock down in an attempt to get the ear off the stock. And it looks like it's also got around the gathering chain here, which is the chains that continue to pull upward. How about the tractor? Well, the tractor is not big enough for this job. But hey, it's a lot of fun. It's not big enough really in two ways. You guys have beat me up significantly in the comments about, well, that'll work on level ground, but it won't work on a hill. Yeah, well, that's the case here. Anytime I'm getting on a side of a hill or anything, it kind of pushes the tractor around a little bit. Now, am I saying dangerously pushes it around? No, it just doesn't allow me to steer where I exactly want to go. The tongue is pretty light. It's not like it's going to flip the tractor or anything. I don't see any danger. It just doesn't handle very easy because of that. The second thing is horsepower. I really don't have enough horsepower to take 2 full rows in this heavy foxtail. And if we keep having trouble me taking 1 row, as in it getting choked up in the row we've already done, we may have to move up to a larger tractor. Having said that, I'm actually shocked at how well it is working. If we had a 1-row corn picker, we'd be fine, right? Yeah. Because I'd be able to continue to feed corn through it, and that kind of helps it keep from getting choked up. Thing is, if I talk long enough here, Rich might have this cleaned out, and so I've got to.
Some. You want.
Would a bigger tractor keep it from choking up? Well, I don't really think so. The foxtail is it's pretty bad out there. And we talked about that at planting time, about how Rich wasn't going to apply any chemicals, and he didn't. And he's got the foxtail to show for it. You did try to cultivate it, right?
We did cultivate through it twice. One more time would have been really nice, but...
Even then, right in the rows,
yeah,
the foxtail that we're having the most trouble with
we would have cleaned that out. But I had the just the 1-row cultivator,
yeah,
and it was so short
you couldn't get over big corn.
No, by the time I got through it twice, that was the last week I cultivated.
even with your 3025E, which stands a little taller.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't so much the height of the tractor as it was the implement.
Okay.
It was just low to the ground.
Yeah, and it was a little keen cutter. They
Right.
call it a cultivator. It's pretty flimsy.
Yeah.
It's not really a nice row crop cultivator
Yeah.
like would typically be used on the farms.
It did a nice job until the corn got tall enough that we couldn't use it.
Well, I might go ahead and try to take 2 rows the next round or two and see if we can keep it cleaner that way, because it really did clog up a lot here.
Then I want to see the 3 on it.
You want to see the 3025E on it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that now.
I did have one question for Rich. You're walking behind. Are we leaving any ears on a stalk?
No, nothing on the stalks. I'm finding some like on the corners where it's not coming in real clean, and it's just dropping them off. When we're on the straight rows, I'm not really seeing a lot to glean. Occasionally, I'll get, like kind of one of the nubbin ears that just falls through, and I'll grab it.
I'm noticing some down corn, and I notice I'm not running near on the ground. I was trying to stay up above some of that foxtail.
Yeah. But no, it's doing a good job of cleaning it.
Okay,
cleaning the
good.
field.
Yeah, we ought to look in the wagon too. It's husking it really well too.
Yeah.
I only saw 4 or 5 that weren't.
And I think at least one of those was mine.
Here's an example. I didn't understand it at the time, but you can see those stalks getting caught up there at the top of the picker. Turns out having those rolls so close together was chopping off the stalks instead of allowing them to go through.
I'm really not sure why it got choked up this time. It wasn't foxtail, but there is foxtail on the rolls, so maybe they just, you know, finally get full. Yeah.
I know you've only got one round really on it, but are you seeing any difference between the 1 series and the 3 series?
This much.
Just a little bit?
I mean, I notice it. You can tell it's different. Coming up the hill there, the horsepower still struggled a lot. I wasn't in as thick a foxtail with this one as I was the 1025R, so it's not quite, it's never quite consistent, right?
Right.
But it seems like this machine might have just a little bit more power. This is the first time I've used a 3025E.
Okay.
I've ran a 32 and a 38 and different tasks, but never a 3025. This is the second most popular Deere tractor.
Is that right?
Behind the 1025R. And it's because it's got this big frame size and it's still relatively inexpensive. Probably why you bought it.
Right, exactly.
I just think this picker, you know, it could be an adjustment issue. It could just be because it's rusty, but I suspect even when they were new, they just weren't built to take as much material as what we're shoving through it.
With all the weeds that we got in there.
Yeah, we've got some really heavy foxtail. And
yeah.
Say, folks, I have a question for you, and you can put some comments in the comments section. I'd really appreciate that. We've been showing some clips with some questions and answers from Country Financial. Our insurance agent has been answering questions for us over the last several months, maybe one per month. We take those questions at tractortimewithttim.com/insurance, and then we kind of gather them together and try to find the most popular questions and the ones that we feel like are most useful. My question to you is, are you finding any value in these questions? Let's watch one now, and then provide your comments below. We've asked our friends at Country Financial to help us with some of these difficult insurance questions over the past few months. And we know so far that since we have a small business, we're working for hire, we need to have a business owner's policy. My question is, if I'm using a nice backhoe like yours here, I'm digging below the ground, or potentially I'm taking down trees or working real high, just doing some jobs like that, do we need an extra policy? Is our business owner's policy enough, and what do we need to do here?
Well, your micro and small business owner's policy will cover you, but what you need to do is let your insurance carrier know what you're doing and how frequently you're doing it, and then they can adjust the policy accordingly to cover that.
Okay, so the frequency, whether we do this every day or whether it's just a once in a while, actually does make a difference.
It does.
Okay, and so I guess I just need to talk with you about that.
Correct, yes.
And same for you folks. Talk to your agent and make sure they're aware of what you do. And the more you communicate and the more you share, I'm certainly the more comfortable you will feel. That's been the way it has been for me. If you don't have an insurance agent or insurance that you feel comfortable with, go to countryfinancial.com/TTWT. An agent will get in touch with you. This company seems to really know what they're doing when it comes to the rural lifestyle folks, so check them out.
Like what you were talking about coming up just that little bit of a hill,
Yeah.
gave that tractor all it wanted.
Yeah.
But it did go through pretty clean.
I think by raising it up a little bit, we have a little less foxtail getting into it.
We might not get those that are down as well, but we'll come through it a lot.
So far, the planting that I did has been good enough.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't had too many times where it was too wide or too narrow.
Yeah, I thought you did a great job that day we were out planting. You said the old-timey farmers wouldn't have liked it, but I thought it looked nice and straight.
How difficult is it to move those rollers apart?
Super easy.
Let's try it.
Wow, one adjustment, and we never choked up again. The picker also pulled easier, required less horsepower to pull it. Kind of wish we'd have tried Johnny again after we made this adjustment, but it gets a little cumbersome to switch around, and we knew we had another tractor we wanted to try.
I think that adjustment may have been good.
Yeah, I think it did help too.
I really think opening those up is going to help our choking up problem.
Now we're trying it on Rich's Open Station 5075E. This is the machine he originally planned to run the picker on anyway. We were just playing with the other two tractors.
How did it do?
Well, it didn't even know it was back there. I mean, that's probably the size tractor we really need on it.
Yeah.
I mean, a 3R or a 4 series would be fine too, but I was running an A2 to start, and then I went to A3. A3 is really all I want to do right now, because a lot of stuff going on for me, right?
Right.
But I think when we widen those rolls apart, it's feeding it a lot better. In some ways, it'd probably be interesting to see if little Johnny handled it better now with the rolls wider, but I'm not too worried about that. I think we kind of understand how those tractors did. And I remember now, and I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it, a bunch of you old timers are probably already commenting in the comments section. Well, you know, of course, it doesn't even look right. A lot of times when you pick corn with a corn picker, you see the stalks just kind of bent over. You didn't really see them cut off, and we were cutting them off. I should have remembered that, but hey, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. Is that how it works?
You want to try it?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, I'll ride along.
Okay.
So Rich, you said we had a little less than an acre, you thought?
Yeah, we measured it out 6/10.
Oh, come on, it had to be more than
3/5.
6. It has to be more than 3/5 of an acre.
It seemed bigger, but when I actually measured it off, and it's not as much as what we had originally thought it was.
You know, these guys that try to make their fields look smaller, that's so that they can make their yields look bigger.
Is that what it is? It's probably a full acre then.
Yeah. What would we have done different if we had it to do again?
Yeah, if we had it to do again, I think the two things that limited us, well, maybe more than two. One, we plowed it up the same day we planted.
Okay.
And so we would have had better suppression of some of these weeds if maybe we'd have turned it over in the fall and then had better, prep beforehand.
Maybe.
But we had to do what we had to do.
We got a good stand though.
We did. And the cultivator we used allowed us to get a couple of passes over it, but then once the corn was, even this high, it was too high for that cultivator.
Yeah. This stuff is definitely no fun to shovel. My mom always talked about shoveling it. How much fun it was for her. She was a newlywed. And here we think our wives do a lot for us these days. My mom was out shoveling corn with that. Ear corn.
If we'd had a better way of cultivating that to keep those weeds suppressed, we'd probably done a little better with it. The other option we have is to spray, which is what we were trying to avoid, to see what would it do if we didn't. I did notice with opening those rows up just a little bit, the rollers, that stayed super clean, and also what we were seeing where it was winding that Timothy up, all that's gone.
Yeah,
especially so that it handled the material a lot better with that. Just that adjustment.
Opening up the rolls allowed the foxtail to go through it a lot easier. From my standpoint, I think I would have planted it a little bit thicker. I would have put the population a little bit higher because we saw a lot of really good ears here.
Yeah.
I was concerned that we were planting it too thick based on it being open pollinated corn. And I just didn't think it would, it might not produce. But I think next year, if I'm doing it again, I'm going to plant it a little bit thicker.
A little heavier.
This year we planted it somewhere around 15,000 kernels per acre on the setting on our little planter. I think I would jump it to 18 or 19 to try again, just to see, maybe even 20,000. I hate to go too much over that because I'm afraid, too much jump in one.
Yeah, in one season. Anything like this, you get one chance a year to dial it in.
Now we only had enough seed to plant that much. So we used all the seed we had. So maybe some advice for you is to save a little bit more seed than what you had last year.
Right.
I'm going to estimate, I kind of wish we'd have weighed the wagon before.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to estimate about 40 bushels. I don't really know. I know that a pickup load, everything you can get in a pickup is about 50 bushels. I'm not sure on ear corn. It may be a little bit less, 50 to 60 bushels in the back of a pickup. But that's a shelled corn, and ear corn is 70 pounds to the bushel. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would consider it a success or not. I would say roughly a third of the yield that you would have got with, professional farming.
Right.
It was an interesting experiment.
Yeah, it was.
Folks, if you have any feedback, we'd obviously love to hear it in the comments. I think this has been fun.
It has.
Do you think it's been fun? We found a lot of red ears, haven't we? Maybe you can get Grandpa to sort out the red ears and we could plant some of that separately and see if it made
See what it
all
does.
red kernels. You think it would? Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim. It is interesting.
I see one.
Do you?
Red.
Red!
The trick is see if you can hit the camera.
Oh. For the camera lady.
Yeah.